Howdy, Beefalo Bart here, and welcome. This is kind of a mixed rant and hopefully some education for game developers about guns and how they're represented in video games. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be showing a lot of Google image searches and comparison-wise. All right, every gamer worth their grain of salt, you know what that is. You know what it is. Every gamer knows that gun. It's the M9. No, it's not. It's the Beretta M92FS. What does that mean? Well, what's the difference? Well, the Beretta 92FS is, FS stands for full size, and it's the Model 92. Honestly, what the main difference is between the M9, the visible differences, you'll see that basically it's the most visible is going to be the sights are different, whether it's a white ramp or white dots or what have you. And that's the only main difference. There are some other slight differences, but it's an M9. We all know that it's an M9. Every gamer knows it's an M9. Well, it could be an M9, it could be a 92FS. But the whole point is, it is a 9mm handgun with a 15-round magazine. It'll hold one additional in the mag, but we won't count that because, you know, games. So it's a 9mm handgun, right? Who wants to use just their 9mm handgun? Because, you know, it's weak. You know, you don't want to use it. It's weak. It's just a 9mm. So how is the 9mm any different? How is the M9 or the 92FS any different than, say, using this? Every gamer knows exactly what the hell this is. It's an MP5, right? It is. It's an MP5. There is, good Lord, I couldn't tell you how many variations of the MP5. MP5A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. You've got a fixed stock. You've got a collapsible stock. You can run it without a stock. You got it with or without built-in suppressors, or you can have it in this configuration with a suppressor, silencer, suppressor, whichever you prefer to call it. It's the same damn thing. It's just a matter of terminology that doesn't make any difference. It's just whatever you choose to call it. They are actually suppressors. They suppress the sound. They don't make them silent like movies do. All right. So why is this any different than the M9? They're both in 9mm in caliber. Yes, the MP5 is available in other calibers, but the primary MP5 is a 9mm. If you go semi-automatic with this, the real guns can either be in safe and semi-automatic only, which is annotated here on the white and then a single red bullet diagram or pictogram. Now, if you go semi-automatic, what makes the MP5 any better than the 92FS or M9? They're both 9mm. They're going to have the same knockdown power, and that's what really bugs me about video games in general, is they're going to make one weapon better than the other for whatever. Okay, this is the MP5. It's better in every way than the M9. Well, the only thing that's going to make this slightly better is the fact that you have a longer barrel. You're going to get a little bit better accuracy at a little bit longer ranges. Modest up to about 75 yards, 50 yards, 75 yards. You know, up to 100, it's okay. But don't get me wrong, I love the MP5. There's one sitting right there. I'm looking right at one. The barrel length is going to help with getting a little bit more velocity, so that might help a little bit. But you also have the availability of the standard MP5 that most people know about is in safe, semi, and automatic. When you flip the switch to automatic, it will continue to shoot until you let go of the trigger. Whereas there are other versions that have a 2-shot burst mode or a 3-shot burst mode. And those are the main configurations. I think there was one more that was a 5, but the primary you're going to see is safe, semi, 3-shot, and full auto. And the last MP5 that I took to the range, the last full auto MP5, I should say, that I took to the range, which I have videos here on my channel, was in that configuration of safe, semi, 3-shot burst, and full auto. But the only thing that's going to make an MP5 better, even though it's a 9mm versus, you know, the M9 or the M92FS, is the fact that you're firing a fully automatic. You're going to get multiple hits, and it goes for the shotgun effect. Multiple impacts at the same time are going to give you a slightly better chance of doing a hell of a lot more damage. But video games will assign the pistol typically a lower damage rate. Like, okay, well, you're going to shoot this 9mm, it's only going to do 10 damage per shot, but you break out your MP5 in semi-auto, and it's doing 25 damage per shot. That's bullshit. It's because game developers decided that, oh, the MP5 is infinitely better and the bullet will do more damage because it's in the MP5 than it will in the M9. And that's not true. They're going to do virtually the same amount of damage, and that's where game developers get it wrong. So we're going to move past the M9 and the MP5, and now the M4. Another variation, and I'm going to use the Division as an example for this. This is a standard, what the M4 is, in a semi-military configuration. Your base grip, base stock, and handguard, detachable carrying handle. This is what most people think of when you see an M4. Now, if you look at the Division, this will be considered the police M4. What makes this so much worse than any other configuration of M4, like the LVOAC, which seems to be a top pick, or was for quite a while. What makes this particular weapon right here, and this is a real gun, Warsport makes the LVOAC in different barrel configurations, but essentially this is what they look like. What makes this gun do more damage than this one? Nothing in real life. And I'm comparing real life to video games here. Well, yeah, real life sucks. I don't really care for it myself. But the whole thing is, oh, well, this is a cooler gun here. The LVOAC is much cooler. Oh, yeah, it's cool. It's a really expensive cool gun, but yeah, it's a cool gun. But they both use the same magazines. They both use the same bullets. They both use a 5.56 millimeter, 5.56 by 4.5 millimeter, or some people will call it, well, it's the same as a 223 Remington. Technically, no, it's not, but it's close enough. They use the same bullets. This gun will do exactly the same damage as this. Whether you're on semi-automatic or fully automatic, it does not matter. They're going to do the same amount of damage. Doesn't matter if it's a 10.5-inch barrel, 14-inch barrel, 16-inch barrel, 18-inch barrel, 24-inch barrel. It doesn't matter. They're going to do the same damage. So why would you make this weapon do more damage than this weapon? Simply because the LVOAC looks cooler, so therefore it must have better stats. Stop the nonsense, okay? If you're going to make a weapon any better, make it better because of options that are included on it. Like, oh, I don't know, optics. If you put the right optics on a weapon, you're going to improve the overall performance level, because you're going to be able to get on target faster. And that will help you as a shooter get on target faster. So the same thing is if you compare this with a the French FAMAS. How is this weapon any different whatsoever from the LVOAC or the M4? It's the same caliber. It's actually shorter because it's a bullpup. But games will make this more powerful than a standard M4 sometimes, just simply because it's cooler than a standard M4. What about the L80, 85A2 or 86? What about these? Not only is it the same caliber, but this weapon right here is, well, besides being airsoft, shoots the same caliber round, and it actually uses the same frickin' magazines. But games will give different stats to different weapons based on the coolness factor or how they want them to perform. Another prime example. This is a standard M14. Now, the standard M14 was actually available to shoot in safe, semi-automatic, and, well, you don't shoot in safe, but you have safe, semi, and fully automatic. The original M14 was fully automatic. Some people see this, oh, it's an M14, or it could be an M1A. The M1A is the same exact rifle, but without the full auto selector switch, which would be located right here. And the only way you can tell from the outside if it's an M14 or an M1A is whether or not it had the full auto selector switch right here. What makes this any different than this rifle right here or this rifle right here, they're both the same caliber rifle. We're assuming that this is a 308 Remington 700. So people will see this. Well, this has got to be better because it's a sniper rifle. It's the same caliber bullet. It's the same 308 7.62 by 5.1 caliber round. Again, close enough to be considered the same thing in all practical applications. So the M14 or the M1A, or there were variations that were considered to be sniper variations. If you just search for M14 sniper, you're actually going to come up with the true version, which is actually not an M14 if it's a sniper variation. It would be the M21, which looks identical, but the changes are not visible from the outside, usually. Other than usually, well, it's going to have a scope on it. The M21 is a sniper variation, so it's going to have a nice big scope on it, and it's going to have a heavier barrel underneath the handguard, which you're not going to see. But what makes that a better weapon is it's semi-automatic. You can get on target and go from target to target faster. And my whole point to this is, if you're going to be a game developer and you're going to put guns into your game or firearms into your game, don't give different weapons different stats based on coolness factor. Well, I like the Remington 700 better with the Macmillan stock, or the HS Precision stock, or the Magpul stock, or whatever. You know, this is the same rifle. It actually has a shorter barrel, so you're going to lose some of your longer range accuracy. But don't make your weapons have different stats based on the coolness factor. That's just sadistic. If a rifle is in 308 caliber, if you want your Remington 700 to have more damage than your M21 sniper rifle, then say it's a different caliber. Don't say that it's still a 308. The common light sniping rifle that you're going to see in pretty much everybody's inventory is going to be the 7.62 by 5.1 NATO cartridge or 308. That is the standard light sniping cartridge, whether it's in this rifle, the M21, the M24. Because if you compare the Remington 700 with the M24 sniper rifle, it's the same damn rifle. It's got some accuracy things done to it to make it more accurate, but what makes it any different? Nothing really. It's the same bullet. It's going to do the same damage, whether it's in the M21, the M24. Well, what about the M40A3? Well, the M40 is still the same damn thing. It has a different look to it, yes, but it's still a Remington 700 in 308 caliber. Now, the U.S. Army and other armies are actually changing over, and they're utilizing larger calibers now. But, you know, you have the variation. If you compare a 308 Remington, why the fuck do I want to see a car? So, 308 Remington cartridge, and you're just going to show guns. Alright, so the standard 308 cartridge, if you were to base that, do a cartridge comparison, let's do an ammo comparison chart. No, we're utilizing the hell out of Google. Find a decent size. Here's one here. If you look at, let's see, open link, a new tab. Let's see if we can get this damn image all the way up. So, why do I care about your shit there? Oh god, some websites are just absolutely retarded. So comparison-wise, this is about as far as I can zoom in on this image. So I apologize for that, but this is considered to be the medium bore. You've got so many different types of ammunition that are available for rifles nowadays. If you want your rifle to do more damage, and you're comparing the 308 cartridge, and it's kind of hard to see the writing on here, but 308 is still just a 30 caliber projectile. It's 7.62 by 5.1 NATO. If you want your rifles to do more damage in a sniper configuration, then you're going to want to look at saying, okay, this is not a 308. Well, this one's a 308, but this one's a 300 Win Mag. But 300 is a smaller number than 308. Surely the 308's bigger is better, right? No, not necessarily. 300 Win Mag is the same diameter projectile for the most part, but it's a Magnum cartridge and it has a whole lot more juice to it, and that's what a lot of people use for shooting at 1,000 yards. 300 Win Mag is a good cartridge, but a lot of will also use the 338 Lapua. Even more powerful in most regards, even though 338 is a larger diameter bullet, but the diameter doesn't have anything to do with the power level. Check with consultants. I do weapons consulting for games and for other stuff, and honestly, if you want the right mix of firearms and the right stats for your firearms, you need to use a little bit of common sense and try to stick away from the Division and all these other games that give different weapons different stats based on coolness factors. We as game developers need to stop the nonsense and start actually putting reality back into guns and games and everything that we do. If you think about it really and truly, as a game developer or someone interested in developing games, and if you're going to put anything in your game, people are going to be playing your game, hopefully, and they're going to, if they're playing this game and they see that the Hudson H9 is a better gun than the Beretta M9, it's just so much better. You got to use this gun. It's much better. Well, why is it better? What makes it better? Start using some common sense when you're actually putting stuff in there, because people in general, and I don't mean this to be terrible, and I'm a gamer and I have my moments too, but most gamers are idiots. I don't mean to be negative against gamers, but the whole point of saying that is, if you go into a game and, for example, this is a Smith & Wesson, it's a frickin' airsoft version, but this will be the Smith & Wesson M&P Series 9mm, we'll say. Why would that be any different than a Beretta M9 or a Hudson H9? I would love to start seeing some Hudson H9s in the games, but there's nothing that makes them different in a game environment, because they're both shooting the same basic barrel length, the same basic caliber. They're both 9mm. They're going to do the same performance level. If you know anything about guns in real life, a stock out of the box Smith & Wesson M&P versus a stock out of the box Beretta M9, two totally different worlds. But they're both still 9mm, and they're both going to perform very similar out of the box. Same thing can be said for the Hudson H9 or the. If you're not familiar with the Hudson H9, it is a new firearm. It's only been on the market for a short amount of time, and it's kind of an interesting looking firearm. That's a much bigger image there, but grip shape of a 1911, slides similar to a 1911 in some regards, but the way that the operating system works, it puts the moving mass portion, and it helps to negate some of the recoil, so you can technically get faster follow-up shots, that kind of stuff. But take the time when you're actually producing your firearms for your games to actually use some common sense, because gamers won't know the difference. If you're telling this person that this gun is better because it's why is it better? Stop making the overall comparison of this gun's better than that gun because of whatever. Your standard firearms need to be based on the performance level of the cartridge, and then if there's anything, you take that same 9mm cartridge and you put that into a 9mm M4, or hell, out of a frickin' High Point or a SIG. This has got a longer barrel. You're talking about, if you got a 16-inch barreled 9mm carbine, then you're going to generate more velocity, and you're going to have better accuracy, and you might get a little bit of performance gain. The standard bullet being fired out of most 9mm is going to be cheap shit. It's going to be ball ammo. It's full metal jackets. So most people aren't going to be using hollow points. If you want to change the performance level of your weapons, this same weapon shooting a full metal jacket versus shooting a jacketed hollow point, we'll say, have special ammo and let your ammo be the difference. A jacketed hollow point is going to do more damage than a full metal jacket out of a 9mm. The main reason for it is, if you look at JHP for jacketed hollow point, the cavity allows it to open up and expand, and it causes a larger amount of transfer of energy, and that's where you get your damage variation. So a 9mm handgun, if you were to be into a crisis situation, and we say you see a police officer that's laying there dead on the ground, and you pick up his weapon and try to defend him, and that kind of stuff, a police officer is going to be carrying hollow points. They're not going to be carrying full metal jackets. If they are, then their department needs to be slapped in the damn mouth. These guys are out there, true heroes, running the streets every day, putting their life on the line. They need to have good shit that's going to keep them alive and get them home to their families in the evening. Got a lot of respect for cops. So the hollow point itself is what's going to be loaded in most police firearms, because they can buy it in bulk and get it to their officers, and that's great, and they should have something that's going to put bad guys down a lot faster. So if you go to any average military organization, they're going to be using a full metal jacket. And honestly, a full metal jacket's not going to expand. It's just going to penetrate all the way through and not deform much at all, if any. It's just a round nose that's encased in a copper jacket. It can be different colors, but it's still basically a copper jacket, and it's not going to expand. It's just going to go through. So performance level wise, if you want to change the performance level of your weapons, then if it's a police handgun, if you pick it up, it's going to have hollow points. If it's a military weapon, it's going to have full metal jackets. Well, instead, give your player the option to change their ammo. If they change their ammo from a full metal jacket to a jacketed hollow point, then they're going to see a much better performance level and knockdown power. If a FMJ, a standard ball round, is only doing 10 damage, then make this bullet do 25 or 30 damage. You get a damage increase by using a better performing bullet. And if you really want to get silly, civil defense ammo. This is what I carry, but I carry it in 45 ACP in all of my carry weapons. The 45 ACP from Liberty, the civil defense round, it's a solid copper jacket. It's not a jacketed, it's a copper hollow point. And if you look at the cross section of it, it's a gigantic, huge, empty cup, man. Its whole theory is it's supposed to, well, and it is, it's some bad shit. What happens whenever it impacts is it blows itself apart in fragments. All these little pieces go off in different directions, and you keep this base cup just keeps penetrating right on through. That's the shit that I carry in all my concealed carry guns. I've got a 1911 sitting right here on my desk underneath my fingers at the moment. Loaded inside of it right now is the 45 ACP Civil Defense. A standard ball round from a 45 ACP from a 1911 is going to be a 230 grain full metal jacket. That's just the norm. It's going to be moving at around 980 feet per second, so it's going to be roughly subsonic. So if you have this magic silencer you can put on your pistol in the game to take a lot of the noise away, you don't have to worry about changing to a special ammo. The regular ammo is going to work. However, regular ammo will work in any suppressor. If you're using a 308, we'll say, sniper rifle without a suppressor, you're using full high power ammo, you can put a suppressor on there and still use that full high power ammo. it's just going to have that sonic crack, and it's not going to be as quiet. But if you put true subsonic ammo into, or suppressed ammo into your suppressed rifle, it's going to be a hell of a lot quieter because it's going less than the speed of sound. You lose that bullet crack. Now with the 45 ACP from Civil Defense, this would be a really good example of how you can improve the performance level. So okay, player changes an ammo from 230 grain ball ammo that's doing 25 damage per hit, and now you just loaded in the Civil Defense. Instead of it going 950, 980 feet per second, this son of a bitch does 1900. It's almost 1,000 feet per second faster because it's only 78 grains. The weight of the bullet is so much lighter than the normal ball round, so it's just blasting through the air. It'll blast through some light cover. It'll penetrate more and do more damage than a standard round will be. So if you want to increase your damage level for your player, let them buy special ammo. A cheap box of 45 ACP ammo is going to cost you about 15 bucks a box, and that's for 50 rounds. Whereas this right here, the Civil Defense, it's going to cost you a bit more, and there's only 20 rounds in that box. So you're going to pay 30 bucks a box. You're going to pay twice as much for a box of ammo, and you're going to get a hell of a lot less. You're going to get 20 versus 50, but these are not meant for going to the range and just blasting with. I got right here in my hands is a my normal concealed carry gun, which is a Springfield XDS 45, and it's also loaded with the same rounds. And it doesn't matter if I'm using my XDS or if I'm using my 1911 at 10-15 feet. It's not going to matter. Your ass is toast if I hit you with one of those slugs, because they're just going to shred. If you look at an example of like this, it just destroys the target whenever it hits. Yeah, this is a chunk of meat that was hit with the 9mm version. So you can turn the 9mm going from, we'll say, 10 damage per hit as a base rule of thumb. If your base damage for your 9mm is 10 damage, by changing your ammo to something like this, a high performance jacketed bullet or hollow point bullet, you can go from 10 damage per hit to 25 damage per hit. More than double the amount of damage gets done, because these things will just absolutely shred a target. So let that be your way of changing your damage for your weapons. Instead of making one weapon better because it's cooler, that's just bullcrap. Stop doing it. It's just, we need to, as a community of game developers, we need to start putting some reality back into the games. And hopefully, the more and more reality stuff we can put into these games, then hopefully we can start reducing some other problems in this world. TVs, movies, games, they skew reality so much that people start thinking that video games or movies or TV are real stuff, and it's just not. I'm probably spelling this wrong. The Glazer Safety Slug. Another absolutely freaking devastating bullet. These are what I used for a long time. And essentially what the Glazer is you have a Teflon ball that's sitting on top of a thin wall of lead and copper jacket, and the rest is filled up with number 12 birdshot. Why the hell would you want birdshot in a Teflon ball? Because what happens is it goes in and the Teflon ball gets pushed into the shot and the bullet just pretty much explodes. It's absolutely devastating. As a prime example, here's an example of the stuff coming out of it. I took this and I carried this in 9mm and 45 ACP as what my normal carry rounds were, and I went ahead and found some for the 44 Magnum. Absolutely disgusting what that round does. I had a friend at the time that was working at a butcher shop in a grocery store, and they get meat sometimes that they can't sell because it's too old. So he brought over like a 15-pound chunk of frickin' meat that was no good. They couldn't sell it. We set it up on a table at about 15 feet away. In hindsight, that was a little too damn close. Because when I set the target, the meat up at 15 feet away, and then I shot it with this damn 44 Magnum, the bullet hit, and the entry wound, normally on a bullet, is small, especially with a hollow point. The entry wound is going to be small, and then it's going to expand and start blowing out and making a larger exit than it is on the entrance. The entrance wound will close up and almost seal back up, so a half-inch diameter bullet, you might only have a tenth of an inch for the outside hole. But the exit wound is probably going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. Well, what happens with this, since it explodes, it only penetrates a short distance. This damn 44 Magnum round went into this 15 pounds of meat, exploded only about 5 or 6 inches in, and I got a shower of meat because it just and exploded shit outwards. It was absolutely gruesome. Funny as hell now to think about. Wasn't happy then because I was covered in meat, but that's how we should be looking at this. More realistically, you can kind of skew it a little bit to make it fit an augmented portion of reality, but let your players change their ammo type to be able to get better performance out of their weapons versus making one gun better because it's cooler. The trouble is when you start talking about rifle ammunition, if you're talking about the M4s or the LVOAC or the FAMAS or the L85 or whatever, they're using a 5.56 by 4.5 NATO cartridge. The whole problem with that is you're talking about the standard U.S. military round currently, or a standard military round in general right now, would be like the XM 855 ball round, which is a 62 grain bullet. And then you have the XM 193, which is a 55 grain bullet. They're both still going to be a full metal jacket. They're both still going to have the same boat tail profile. They're going to look identical. They're just going to have different amounts of weight, and that's based on the amount of lead and steel inside a projectile. And it's not uncommon for military ammunition to have steel inside a projectile. The Russians did it quite a bit, and if you looked at some of the ammo, the cross-section and where they place the steel will affect the performance on penetration on different cover. But in general, the 5.56 ammo, you can see this is a 55 grain VMAX. Okay, the only thing you're going to get out of a 5.56 round or 223 round is you can go from the standard full metal jacket to a jacketed hollow point or a ballistic tip. So you've got three basic different types of ammunition, so that whenever you're choosing between those three, there are going to be slight performance differences and so forth. So that's the only variation you're going to have in that. So with the full metal jacket, you're going to have just straight penetration. You're going to have a basic damage type is just going to be, you're not going to get as much kinetic energy transfer, but you're going to get a straight penetration, and it's going to pass through, it's going to tumble, and that's how it's going to do its damage. Whereas a jacketed hollow point, the projectile is going to spread open, and it might cause a little bit more soft tissue damage, but it's also relying on the fact that it's just going to break apart and shrapnel effect. The ballistic tip, essentially the same thing. That little pointy plastic tip that makes it look so much more awesome, which it could be red, green, black, glow in the dark, which I've seen. There could be various different colors, but what you've got is that little plastic tip gets pushed in and helps to expand the bullet a little bit, but you're really not going to get much expansion. You're not going to get a hell of a lot of performance difference in ammo in a 5.56. You're not going to see a significant amount of damage change on video games. Are mostly going to be player versus player or player versus environment. You're killing other humans in these video games, so anti-human, so to speak. You're not going to see enough variation in the 5.56 ammo to make a difference in having custom ammo types. You could choose to say, okay, well, this is armor piercing ammo. It might help get through their body armor better, but that's about it. There is no real true armor piercing rounds for 5.56. Oh, this is the green tip. It must be the armor piercing. It's going to do this much more damage. No, not really. It's just going to hold itself in its shape a little bit better and just penetrate through a little bit more body armor. So not that significant. Now, when you move up to the 7.62, again, can be misleading, because if you say 7.62, by what? The AK-47 uses 7.62 by 3.9. The 7.62 refers to, and let's blow up this picture here, and this is a 7.62 by 3.9. The difference is the diameter of the bullet is 7.62 by 3 is that's 7.62. It's a 30 caliber projectile. The 3.9 comes into effect of the overall length of the cartridge. So 39 millimeters long versus 7.62 by 5.1, which is the 308, is going to be 51 millimeters long versus 39 millimeters long. Hence, you're going to get more powder. You're going to get more power. Well, what about the Mosin Nagant or the Dragunov sniper rifle? It's a 7.62. Yes, it is. 7.62 by 5.4R. The R standing for rimmed. It has a rim on the cartridge case instead of being rimless like this. And also the 7.62 by 5.4R, or the rimmed cartridge, which is the standard Russian sniper rifle cartridge of what most people know of for games. It's 54 millimeters long. Well, 54 is bigger than 51. It's got to be better. No, not really. It's still a good cartridge, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily any better than a 308. They're both 30 caliber projectiles. They're very similar. We're talking about 3 millimeters difference in overall length. So the whole point is they're 30 caliber projectiles. The projectiles themselves will help influence the damage, but the velocity will also help with the damage. 7.62 by 3.9, we'll say, is roughly 2,800 feet per second, whereas 7.62 by 51 or 308 is going to actually be a little bit higher. It can be, 3,200, 3,300 feet per second. 7.62 by 54R, 2,800. The velocity difference is going to be where your damage levels are going to come from. So, yes, a 308 or 7.62 by 5.180 is going to do more damage than a 7.62 by 39, only because it has a higher velocity range and they can have different weight bullets. You can actually start getting into like 308 JHP. We'll just search for that. The jacket hollow points, you can have soft tips. And the bullet design, you can have solid copper, you can have the boat tail hollow points, and you can have a lot of variations in ammo, and you start getting a little bit different performance. Not a great level of performance, but you're going to see a little bit different knockdown power between the different bullet types. Do your research or check with someone like myself who has the time to research and give you the correct information on the correct ammo types to adjust the damage levels of these different rifles. Now, a heavy-duty long-range 308 cartridge, and here's a comparison between the 308 and the 223, or if you want to consider it, the 5.56 by 4.5 NATO versus 7.62 by 5.1 NATO. So these are both the NATO cartridges. This is what the M4 uses, and they're not to scale, by the way, and this is the 308. The thickness of the cartridge means you're going to get more powder. You're going to get not necessarily higher velocities, because you can get 223 or 5.56 loads as well. The projectile may be longer, and a precision 223 or 5.56 sniper rifle, and yes, you can have that small caliber. And if you think about 223 or 5.56, that's the diameter of the bullet. It's not 22 caliber. It's less than a 1/4 inch in diameter. It's less than 6 millimeters in diameter. It's a small, tiny bullet. The 308 cartridge is a little bit larger. But why not say, well, if you've got an M4, why are you stuck with 5.56 or 223 ammo? There's more calibers available for the 5.56 guns. What about the 300 Blackout? I have a 300 Blackout AR-15 sitting a few feet from me right now. The 300 Blackout ammunition is essentially a shortened 5.56 case that's been opened up in the neck area to hold that same 30 caliber bullet like a 308 would have. Hell of a lot lower velocities. You know, you've got two different choices of ammo for it. You got subsonic and supersonic. The subsonic is going to be below 1,000 feet per second. It's great for using with the silencer, and the supersonic is going to be 2,200 feet per second. It's still a hell of a lot slower, but still a potent ass round for short to medium range. You're not going to be shooting this bullet at 1,000 yards for sure. So I like it. It's a great hog round because I'm hunting in areas that are less than 100-yard shots, and that 300 blackout puts bacon on the table all frickin' day long. One good, well-placed shot, doesn't matter if it's a 22 long rifle or a 300 Win Mag, but the whole point is it puts bacon on the table. And fat kids, we love food. So you can change your caliber of your M4 by changing, and the whole joy of the AR system, or the M4, it's not an M4, it's an AR-15 platform, is you have a lower receiver. That basic lower receiver package allows you to change your buttstock in a second or two, but if you have either a collapsible or a fixed stock, you can offer, you know, this same lower receiver by just changing the upper receiver. The lower receiver itself is where the magazine attaches and where the trigger is and where the buttstock attaches. There are some customization levels you can put into it, or you can have cool shit like that with the skull face on the M4 receiver. You know, there's things you can do to cool them up. Looks wise, doesn't change the performance, the caliber does. If you look at AR-15 upper receivers, holy crap, the amount of differences you're going to find here. You've got your flat top upper receivers, you've got ones with built-in carrying handles, you got the A1 style, the A2 style, you can have skeletonized, where you got cutouts you can see through the inside. The completed upper receivers, even in the same style handguard, you can have different lengths in the handguard. Even this is a 16-inch barrel and different lengths of handguards. Same handguard, just different sizes. The upper receiver differences allow you to go from, like say, with this example right here, this could be a 5.56, this could be a 223 Wild, very similar. We'll get into the differences of that. This could be a 300 Blackout, and this could be a 6.5. Or a 7.62 by 3.9 to use the AK bullet. Or there's a bunch of different calibers that you can get in this upper receiver configuration. Just the same as if you were going from an AR-15 to an AR-10. The main difference is the cartridge size. The AR-15 uses the smaller 5.56 length stuff, whereas AR-10 uses the 308 size cartridges. So you can use a little bit more powerful round. Say if you're building a sniper configuration of your AR-10, you can have your fancy handguard and barrel and Magpul PRS buttstock and big old huge Mondo scope and everything else, and you can get some damn good accuracy out of this. And now you've got a great light sniping platform that's semi-automatic, and you can just wreck some shit with that. Whereas you could actually go with a shorter version. Oh, you can. I've seen really short barrels for these, like 10-inch barrels. A little bit on the crazy side, but you can go to a much shorter package, and now that same weapon, God, that's a terrible small picture, can go from a light sniper to a weapon that you can use inside of a building that's shorter, more compact. You still got that kick-ass 308 cartridge, and you can kick the door in and just rack some shit up because you've got that 308 which just blow through walls and just, you know, monster entry gun. So there's so many different ways, and just get with me on Discord if you want to set up some cool factor for your guns. Do it based on caliber conversions or cosmetic differences or things of that nature. I would love to see something to the nature of, there was a AR-15 builder, there was a website that had an AR-15 builder, and what it was is it allowed you to go in here and drag and drop parts in. So okay, let's go with the lower receiver. We'll do a complete lower receiver with a standard M4. Upper receiver, let's go with a flat top complete upper. I want the, now you can scroll through the list here. Let's go with an Aero Precision. So now let's go with you know, that one right there. So you can pick out the parts and start assembling it and putting it all together. And let's put an EOTech on there. I don't know why the upper didn't go on yet. Come on. Might be that I'm actually, you know, because I am streaming. But let's go ahead and put on, yeah, screw it. Let's put on this one. And then we've got accessories. We can put a vertical grip on here. I would love to see something like this. A good configuration for, oh, let's put a black one on there. We've got a vertical grip. Let's put a flashlight on it. And let's put a magazine. Let's put on special capacity magazines. I want, for giggles, I want to do a, I don't use those, but let's put on one of those. A little short precision mag, or hell, let's make it a 9mm, or we can come back over here, go back to magazine, standard 30 rounders, and let's put a Magpul mag in there, and have that kind of system for players to be able to build their weapon. They can actually come in here and build your own lower receiver. Let's change to this lower receiver, the Sequence Precision, with that cool thing on it. And then let's go with, we got to have a cool buttstock. We want a collapsible, let's do adjustable. Let's do this one right here. That looks cool. And then we want to put on here a pistol grip. Well, I want the Stark equipment. No, I don't like that one. This one. I've got one of these on my Precision AR. Or we can actually just do that one. And let players build their weapons up on their AR platform like that. Just by doing that. You know, absolute coolness factor. What if we want to go with a sniper configuration and, you know, we want to lose that, you know, that kind of stuff. Build it the way you want to. But that's where I'm going to leave it on this video. Like I said, check. Yes, AR-15 works with 9mm, and generally it's, there are conversion kits that allow you to use dedicated 9mm upper receivers with a standard lower receiver. They're not great, but they work. What you're going to find typically in the 9mm AR-15s, the lowers themselves, there are dedicated lowers now that are made just for using AR-15s with 9mm, but they also use Glock style magazines. So there are dedicated 9mm lower receivers. There's also 40 and 45 caliber AR-15s, but there are, like this right here is a standard lower receiver with a modification to allow it to work. Most of them, the upper receivers, are what's actually modified, and there's a block that drops in. It's not something that you can do at the range in 5 minutes, because you do have to remove the bolt stop, which you can't see from this side right here. It's a piece that's on the other side that allows you to lower your bolt. Let's see, not a great picture, but it'll be located in this region right here. You actually have to remove that, and most of almost all of the lower receivers that have this, they're pinned in. and it is a pain in the ass because you got to drift it in from this side. You have to have a long enough punch to get it to drive this little small pin that's not even 3/4 of an inch long and it's tiny into that little tight hole right there without scratching the crap out of your lower receiver. I've built quite a few AR-15s, so but you can have little tiny PDW size stuff like that based off of an AR-15 in 9mm. So technically, yes, you can take your AR-15 from 22 long rifle, 9mm, 40 caliber, 357 SIG, 40 cal, 10 mil, 45 ACP, 5.56, 300 blackout. I've got the list of calibers for an AR-15 platform is extensive and exhaustive. I mean, there's just so many things you can do with the AR-15 platform. And really quickly, let's see if I've got... I know I got pictures. I just got to find them. I'm so unorganized on my F drive where all my miscellaneous stuff is. Got to find it. It's some pictures of some of my weapons. Just a matter of finding them. Yep, I got so much shit in this drive. I need to really just break everything down, reorganize everything, and well, I'll just show this one right here. And this is one of my AR-15s. This one is a 300 blackout. It's a 1:4 by magnification scope. Is a side charging handle. Normally the AR-15 has a charging handle back here that you pull to the rear, which come all the way back to right there, which is kind of awkward when you're trying to shoot a short platform like this, because your cheek is like right here. So you have to pull the whole gun away from yourself to pull the charging handle back and then let it go, and then you can bring it back up. Whereas with mine, it's a side charging handle, so now I can just charge it right here instead of from here coming back. So it's more practical that way. I use a short mag because this is set up for hunting. The finish on it is Cerakote tungsten silver. It's a medium dark gray with a light metallic flake to it. Really cool. The grip and little rubber strips here are OD green. That's actually a Beretta case behind it though. Flash hider, that's a 10-round magazine. It's got a custom magazine release. It's got I think it's a Sequence Precision selector switch, so it only moves a small amount versus fully 90 degrees. So normally whenever you go from safety to fire, this leg right here of that, and this is ambidextrous, it works on both sides, this would normally be straight down and gets in the way of your damn finger when you're trying to get a good hold. So with this system right here, whenever I put this on fire, it actually only comes down to about right here at that angle. It's only like a 60 degree or 45 degree change in the rotation. So you can change your caliber of your AR-15. This is a better picture right here of it, a little bit closer up. And yes, it is really dusty and dirty because I haven't shot the damn thing in a while, which is a crying shame because it shoots so good. That's actually a custom backplate right here. I had it machined to a certain, and I hand filed to a certain profile, and it got modified again. I didn't do the extra modifications. My original modification, it fit the profile almost perfectly because you got some contour changes right there. So this selector here, it only goes to an angle of like right here, so it doesn't get in the way of my finger reaching forward for the trigger. And that is also a custom trigger. I forget, I think that's an ALG trigger. I actually, for an AR-15 platform, for something like this, I like a little bit heavier trigger, like about a 5-6 pound trigger. I like it a little bit heavier on a hunting weapon, so you don't have an accidental discharge. If you forget and leave it on fire and you accidentally hit the trigger, you won't accidentally shoot yourself in the leg. That's my secondary layer of safety. But yeah, that's the Baconator. That's what I built to go hog hunting with. It does a pretty good job. It's relatively accurate, even at 50, 75 yards. I thought I had some other pictures of some of my other toys. I will quickly look, and I'm not going to spend a hell of a lot more time in here because we're almost to the 1 hour mark, and I try to keep these runs no longer than an hour. Last night that 1 hour turned into 2 hours from my last stream, but you know, things happen. We were having fun. And I are not seeing it. So yeah, I thought I had some other pictures. And I'm sure that I do. I'm so disorganized on my my images. I'm not showing this all on screen because there might be some sensitive data that might accidentally get shown. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. So I'll check one more folder, and that are it. Yeah, I'll come up with some more pictures. I post them every so often. Plus, there's a video that I did a while back of guns that are on my desk right now. So if you actually go to the YouTubes, not that you would ever go to YouTube or anything, but go to, hey, that dumbass Beefalo Bart streaming. How about that? If you go to my channel, and video manager, come on, load. And actually, I'll just go back again. So, as the average viewer, you can come in here and, oh, shit, excuse me. Would you go back to normal? All right, kiss my ass. Occasionally, YouTube changes its freaking styling on me, and it looks like crap. So, like I was saying, if you go to, come on, I think it's a little slower whenever I'm streaming, so go to my channel, scroll down the videos, and there was one that I did a while back that was the guns that were on my desk or something of that nature, or pretty much some of the guns that I had within reach. Right there, Beefalo Bart's desk guns. So if you watch that video, I'm not going to make you watch a YouTube video of my YouTube video. So that's what it is, Beefalo Bart's desk guns. Go check that video out, and that's going to show some of the guns that are within reach, and some of my project guns, stuff like that. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching and listening to me ranting about guns. If you have questions about any kind of guns whatsoever, ask me on Discord. If you want to know how you can, make your guns better or worse or whatever, or how to lay them out, just ask me whatever questions you've got about firearms on Discord, and I'll get you an answer as quickly as I can. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to be back and forth in and out of the office, but I will still be available. I'm going to go ahead and put idle as my status on Discord, so drop me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.